Okay, so I lied. I lied in the last video, which isn't even the last video. It should be the same video unless it like gets monstrous long. But I said I was gonna like film a follow-up the next day or like after my appointment, my first appointment with the IVF fertility clinic, and no, I did not. I did not do that. That was months ago and I just never got around to it. So we're gonna do, I've had 2 appointments now in total, so we're gonna do the follow-up in the same video, hopefully. And I'm doing a different setup. I sometimes like if I can see like a bed in the background, and I'm wondering if it'll be slightly more comfortable, but also you can't see the makeup I did, so like maybe it's not the best. I don't know. And ignore the laundry pile in the background there. Just forget about it. This is my notes. Okay, so last time I was talking about like my feelings before the appointment, about finding out about having low fertility and needing to talk to a fertility clinic and having to have, you know, interventions, medical intervention in order to get pregnant. And I sort of worked through that aspect, like with my therapist and talking with my family and my friends and my partner. And it's like, it's still frustrating. It's still upsetting. But at the same time, it's one of those things that you can't control. And I didn't like, even if I'd done something, you know what I mean? Like, even if I'd been stupid at 19 and it like gave me infertility, I still wouldn't deserve this suffering. But that, be that as it may, I haven't done anything. I like this is something you can't control. And I don't believe in any deity or deities. So for me, it's not, like, for me, it's easier, I feel, not believing in a deity personally, because I'm like, I'm not trying to understand what God's trying to do, what God's trying to tell me or whatever. Through this infertility, it's just a fact of life. It's just a thing that has happened. It's like, it's just one of those things you can't control. And it is what it is. So I went into the appointment. Me and my partner went to the appointment together, and basically the first like 20 minutes, hello Moonpie, this is Moonpie. Okay, settle, pick a spot. Basically the first 20 minutes was doing like a medical history, and that was mostly me. My family is very complicated, so I did my own medical history, and then like anything that might be related on both sides of my family to the best of my ability, because I don't know really my dad's side of the family. And like, even though I do talk to a few cousins, I'm not really at the conversational level where I can say like, hey, have you had any reproductive problems? So I did my best. Luckily, my mum's side of the family were very close, and absolutely we can talk about whether or not we've had reproductive problems. And my partner, very quick. Hardly any problems from his side of the family. And then the doctor explained to us the various options that we had and why we were going with the one we were going. So we're going with IVF, hang on, it'll say on one of my notes. In vitro fertilization. I can't find it. Anyway, vitro fertilization, as opposed to the other options, which is simply to go on a hormone that would increase ovulation or intrauterine insemination, IUI. And we went over why those 2 options wouldn't really work for me, because she reckoned, and she's probably right, you know what I mean? Like, we can't say 100% for certain, but my endometriosis is the reason why I have low fertility and we haven't been getting pregnant. So endometriosis causes a lot of like chemical and hormonal imbalances that like can block ovulation. And on top of that, when we did the internal ultrasound, we discovered there was scar tissue on my left ovary, which would physically block the egg from getting into the fallopian tube and then into the uterus. So unlike in most diagrams, ovaries and fallopian tubes are not actually directly attached. They sort of just sit next to each other. And then it's chemicals, like hormones, that pull the egg into the fallopian tube. And you actually want to get that egg inseminated before it reaches the uterus. It's got to be inseminated in the fallopian tube before it gets to the uterus. Once it's in the uterus, it's actually too late. Which is why, like, there's something like 30 to 50% of pregnancies terminate themselves spontaneously. They aren't viable. And a lot of the time this happens without the person even knowing this has happened. You know, it happens so early on that you wouldn't even know. And then once you do know, once you've reached the stage where you do know, there's about a 10 to 20% chance of, maybe 10, of miscarriage, of spontaneous abortion. So like your chances of getting pregnant naturally are actually pretty low, like in the grand scheme of things. But people do it all the time. People have been doing it for millennia, and that's why we're here as a human species. So like it's possible, but like when you actually look at like the statistics and like all the bits that have to go into it, it's kind of mind-boggling that it happens at all. So we did a internal ultrasound, and those are not comfortable, but not painful for me. There was certainly a point where I was like really, really uncomfortable because so she's looking at my uterus, which like was, I think she said 7 centimeters across and 11 centimeters down. It was quite big. And that's really weird because like you don't really think about a lot of your organs all the time, right? Like your heart, you can feel your heart beating. Your lungs, you can feel your lungs expanding. Sometimes you feel your bladder and your like stomach when you have to go. And like your brain, you're sort of feeling it. At least when I think, it's coming from up here. Like I'm not feeling my thoughts in any other part of my body. It feels in my brain. But when it comes to like my kidneys, my uterus, my gallbladder, my pancreas, my liver, I don't feel those guys. I know they're in here, but they're just, I don't know where they are. I don't feel them. And so to actually like have a measurement of like how big my uterus is, and it was kind of crazy. It's like, oh, that's right. It's inside me. Like, you know that, but it kind of made it concrete. So that was fun. And then we looked at my ovaries, which on the ultrasound to me looked like chocolate chip cookies, but like those ones where the baker has put like those big chocolate chunks in. And so like each chunk was a egg follicle. Or a follicle that like would turn into an egg. I don't know. Anyway, and she tried to push my ovaries away from my uterus. So they sit next to, but because they're not actually physically attached, they should be able to move. And that's when she figured there was scar tissue there because my left side didn't move. And that was very uncomfortable. Like that was not painful, just that sort of weird queasy feeling you sometimes get when stuff goes too deep up inside you. And if you don't have that anatomy, I don't know how to describe it to you. It's something you just sort of have to experience. Although ideally you never would because it's not pleasant. But the other side was fine. Which means that like you might think, oh, you have one working ovary, but because of the hormones and endometriosis, even if that one would release an egg, it's not necessarily getting to where it needs to be. And that being said, your ovaries don't go like left, right, left, right, left, right when they ovulate. You might go left, left, left. Oh, this is my right. Left, 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 right, right, left, right, right, right. You know what I mean? So you can never be sure which ovary you're ovulating from. It's not like it's just they pass back and forth, because it's a biological process, not like a mechanical one. So that was really interesting. But it certainly like made sense of why we've been having such difficulty. Like my eggs aren't even getting out of the ovary. Where are they going? They're definitely going somewhere. Because they're not still in the ovary. I know that because I also have a low egg count, which was just like fun. Like it's like, oh, okay, so not only can I not get pregnant easily, but I also have less time to get pregnant. What's going on? It's like, if the eggs can't get out, where are they going? I should really ask that next time. But I'm still getting like regular periods.
So I asked my partner where the egg would be going, because he's a doctor, and he said, oh, it's probably just like falling into the gaps in the body and like disintegrating, or like getting broken down or whatever. And I was like, the gaps in the body? What do you mean? And he was like, I don't understand. I was like, what gaps? Like, what's in the gaps? And he's like, nothing. There's nothing in the gaps. I'm like, there's just holes of nothing inside me? Like, what's in the gaps? Air? Juice? Meat? What's in the gaps? And he says, if you have a container of sand, there's gaps between the sand, but it's so small it doesn't matter, right? That's what your body is like. And I went, oh, okay. So that's where the eggs are going. They're falling into these like teeny tiny little gaps, and they're just breaking down into nothingness instead of going where they should be and turning into a baby. Thanks, body.
Bodies are weird. Maybe when like an egg does get out, it just shoots out like 4 or 5, because it's like, we missed a few. Get them out of here. So this is why we have to do IVF, because the other options either increase your ovulation, which of course, no point if the egg, you know, of making like a really cool, awesome egg, if it can't physically get to be inseminated, or you put the semen into the uterus. And that's if like it's the dude's side that's the problem. And again, and like no point doing that, because there's nothing for them. They would just be bouncing off the empty walls. Like there's 2 options. You can get the egg. Once they suck out your egg, they can put it in a petri dish with your partner's stuff, and then, you know, play some romantic music and hope for the best. Or they can like manually put a semen in a sperm into an egg, which is more expensive, but also what we have to do. So like, at least it's not all on me. It's both of us. It would have been hard if just one of us had low fertility, but both of us has low fertility. So like, no wonder it's not been working. And I did ask my partner, I was like, how do you feel about that? You know, because like some guys can like tie their masculinity in with their ability to reproduce, and I'm not going to judge them on that or anything, but I just wanted to check in. And he was like, he's very healthy. He was like, well, there's nothing I can do about it. It's got nothing to do with me. Like, I didn't do, like, what are you going to do? And I was like, that's crazy. That's so healthy. That's amazing. I love you. I have fur up my nose now, but he's happy. The doctor gave us a cool infographic which explains the like process in roughly time and what happens at which time, which was really helpful for me. I really like to know these like concrete things. And we just had our education lesson. Where was I? I just got a phone call from my dentist because I've got to get my wisdom teeth out. And I just had a filling 2 days ago and my mouth is still sore. And it's kind of been a lot. It's kind of been like a lot all at once. It's like, you got to get your teeth fixed. You got to get your uterus sorted. You got to do your hormones. You got to lump in your breast that needs an ultrasound, but we're not going to do that for like over a month. Do I have breast cancer or not? This feels like important information. I don't want to wait a month. Beside the point. Okay. Yesterday we had our education on hormones. And before that, like at the first appointment, she did go over, you know, what the needles would look like, roughly what I would need to take and when I would need to take them. And then also, like the week before our appointment for the education on the hormones, we also had to do like an online class sort of thing. It was just watching videos and then answering like multiple choice questions, which like I took all these notes. I was like frantically writing, and my partner's just sitting there like, yeah, I already know all this. It's both helpful that my partner is a doctor and knows a lot of this stuff already, but it's also unhelpful because it's like I'm the only one learning and I'm the only one stressing about it. But at the same time, if I'm stressed and I'm confused, I can go to him and he will help reassure me and give me that information. So that's, you know, pros and cons. So what's going to happen, as far as I understand it currently, is I will message them my day one. Day one is my first full day of bleeding on my period. So like, if you know, sometimes you start like the night before or the afternoon before and you don't get like a full bleed, that's just like a prologue to your period. Day one is the first full bleed, and basically we will just let the period happen and let the ovulation naturally happen, take a blood test to confirm ovulation has happened, and then when they tell me to, start taking a tablet called Proginova. And when I take that tablet, I'm not 100% sure what the tablet does. I'm pretty sure the tablet will be like preventing the further release of any other like follicles. So we're just sort of, first of all, it will increase my FSH and LH, and then it will suppress it. I think that's what this one is, which is the follicle stimulating hormone and I believe the luteal hormone. And so those will like increase, and then it will help suppress that thing. So basically it'll stop me from going into my usual period cycle, my usual ovulation period cycle. And we need to do that so that multiple eggs of the same size can grow in the ovary. So if one gets like big and buff, the others aren't going to have room to grow. So you need to like stop one from going big so that you can get multiples. And so I will take that for girl, where are my notes? I will take that tablet, the Proginova tablet, for 7 to 14 days, depending on hormone levels and things like that. And she did tell me that I should expect a bleed while on those. And if I don't bleed, I actually have to tell them because that's like a problem. So I will be doing sort of daily vlogs while I'm taking these hormones to track my, you know, reactions and feelings and stuff. So you guys will know if I bleed or not. And if I don't, you'll find out what the problem is. And hopefully you won't have to. Hopefully it's all smooth sailing, blood-wise. And so after that, I will then start injecting myself. And this is the part that's like, I'm not scared of needles, but like a regular, like normal person, I also don't enjoy getting stabbed with them. So this is the part where I'm like not excited, and which will often make me like the angriest and the most upset about not being able to get pregnant the normal way, you know, for free. Because there are people out there like making babies on accident. Not only are they making babies like needle free, but they're also doing it like for free without having to put like a down payment on their child. And they can even do it accidentally. That's wild. I want what they have. I would love an accidental baby. But no, I gotta spend the like down payment on a house just to get like the potential for an embryo. The first of my injections is called Gonal F, and I will be doing it at like between 7 and 9 p.m. at night. And once I pick a time, I have to stick to it the same time every night. And this is for follicle growth. So that will be each like egg follicle in my ovaries, and it'll be both ovaries, I'm pretty sure. And then they'll just like decide which one to take from. They might take from both. I don't know. We'll find out. Ooh. That will stimulate the follicles. So it will make my eggs big and beefy. And we're looking to get like multiple follicles. And we're hoping that they get to be, I think it was like 17 to 22 millimeters in size, which is like teeny tiny. But also, like, you know, you want multiple of that size in order for like the opportunity, because not every one that you take out is going to then develop into a blastocyst, and not every blastocyst is going to turn into an embryo, as I understand it, and not every embryo is going to turn into a baby. You know, like each step along the way you lose a few. It is what it is. That's why you want to start with as many as possible, so that you do have, you know, 4 or 5 embryos at the end, and then you can pop one in and freeze the others. So after 4 nights, she said, of that first injection, I add a second injection. Yep. And I'm doing both at the same time. This one was called Orgalutran. And I keep thinking orangutan. And then start stabbing myself again. We'll start doing a blood test to check that my hormone levels are at the right level. And then we do a trigger shot, and that will, believe the trigger shot, like triggers the ovulation, or like basically it gets them ready. You do the trigger shot, and then the next day or the day after that, hopefully the next day, you go into egg retrieval. So you can put it off for a little bit depending on your hormone levels, and then you go into egg retrieval. And egg retrieval, she explained, so we saw a doctor the first time, and then we saw a nurse the second time. But the doctor explained how egg retrieval worked, which was kind of terrifying. Basically, a big long syringe goes whoop, and then it gets a little thin needle that goes through my cervix, and then through my uterus, through this wall of my uterus, into my ovary, and then they suck the eggs up into that big old tube. And this, of course, has risks. Now, before we did the education, I was pretty calm. I was pretty zen about the whole like IVF situation. I was like, okay, but each step comes with some pretty scary risks. Like, not such a high chance that like I'm genuinely worried, but more so like ovarian torsion. Have you all heard of ovarian torsion? Because I hadn't. But this is before egg retrieval. This is just stimulating the ovary. It can get so full of blood that it like rotates. And sometimes it'll unrotate itself. You're all goods. But other times it'll just keep on going. And they need to operate to rotate it back, or you could just lose it. And we've already established I've only got the one that works. Barely. I can't afford to lose it. Maybe this guy won't rotate because he's like stuck to the uterus. Maybe the scar tissue is a bonus in this case, but I'm not betting on it. Anyway, there's a small chance of that, like a But I'm still like, any chance is too much of a chance, you know what I mean? The biggest problem we have to look at is ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome, where the ovaries swell and fluid builds up in your body, and that will stop the treatment. Like, you won't be able to you might be able to do an egg retrieval, but you won't be able to do a fresh transfer. You have to wait to go back to your normal hormone levels before you can be pregnant. Obviously, because if your hormone levels are already like off the charts, crazy, filling you up with fluid, adding an actual natural pregnancy and the hormones that come with that to that situation is not going to be good for you, and it's certainly not going to be good for your potential fetus. Like, again, 5 to 10% chance of like that really happening, and like a 1 to 2% chance of it being severe, you know? So really, and it can be treated, it's really not like major, but like, it's still stressful, you know? It's like the hormones that stimulate my ovaries can lead to complications that may require surgery to fix. And egg retrieval can cause bleeding in this area that may require hospitalization to fix. And then you get pregnant, and there's all the complications of pregnancy, which I already knew. Like, I had already come to terms years ago with the complications of pregnancy. But this is just to get to pregnancy. And again, it can be frustrating because other people don't have this problem. I mean, lots of other people have this problem. Obviously, I'm not the only one. You know, thousands, millions of people have to do IVF for fertility problems. But millions more don't. And I am around and surrounded by, because of where I work in early childhood. So I'm surrounded by people who got pregnant multiple times without having to inject themselves with hormones. Some of them by accident, you know, not meaning to. And there's jealousy, there's definite jealousy, but it's not the kind of jealousy where like you want to take what they have. Like, I would never want to take away from someone else's happiness. Like, you know, 2 of my coworkers have been pregnant, and one of them has had their child since I started working there. And I am so happy for them. You know what I mean? Like, genuinely. But it's there's an ache. There's an ache because it's like, I want that so bad. And I'm so happy for you. And especially like my coworker brings her baby in sometimes and we get to hold her, and that's so special. But I have to be really careful. If I get too like involved in looking at that baby, I can tear up, I can cry, because I just want it so bad. And it's just so hard, you know? It's expensive, and you have to go through all these steps, and my brain is so full. My brain is so full of all the things I have to think of. And then this fucking lump, you know, what if it's breast cancer? Then I have to wait even longer to get pregnant because I gotta get rid of the cancer. It's probably not cancer, okay? It's probably just a fibroid, very common. But like, I don't know for sure. And until we know for sure, we can't go forward with IVF hormonal treatment. Obviously, because the hormones aren't going to help the breast cancer. But that's, it's one more barrier that I don't want to have. I don't want to have it, you know? Like, sue me for being selfish, but I don't want to have fertility problems. I want a functioning ovary and uterus. Just the one functioning ovary would be nice, because, you know, this one's out and this one's on the fritz. The uterus is fine. Technically, the uterus is fine, besides the, like, wandering endometrial tissue. But like once the egg is in there, there shouldn't be an issue like for pregnancy itself. And that's, I'm lucky in that regard, you know, that's not the case for everyone. And I am very lucky that there is still an option for me to get pregnant and hold my child in my body and to have my child's genetics be from me and my partner. And while that's not the be all and end all, you know, if it ends up this doesn't work out for us, I'm happy to adopt. You know, I don't like, my partner is actually quite like, you know, he really wants our kid to be like genetically our kid, but I'd take any baby at this point, you know, and I just want a kid. Any kid will do. Don't worry, I'm not out snatching babies. I'm not like crawling into people's windows and stealing babies out of their cribs. But I do understand where that used to happen, okay? That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying, if you read about it in the historical documents, don't judge those people, okay? I sympathize. I'm not doing it. That's a crime. And I would never deprive a loving family, you know, or a parent who's trying their best, their child, you know, and that chance to be with their child. I think there's nothing crueler than depriving a parent of the chance to be with their child if they're genuinely trying and they genuinely love that kid. You know what I mean? Obviously, there are exceptions, like in the case of my own father, who was not trying his best and did not care about me. So he didn't get the chance to raise me. And I don't think that's cruel. I think he brought that on himself. So, you know, obviously there are exceptions. And if there's room within those exceptions for me to adopt a baby or, you know, I would love that. But first, needles. First the needles, because I want to experience pregnancy as I've been over before. And one thing that's getting me through the difficulty of the IVF process is my scientific curiosity. I'm just interested in how it all works. I mean, learning about the side effects kind of puts you off, but you know what? Learning about birth also puts you off pregnancy. Oof, I have heard some horror stories, not just online. I've heard horror stories about people I know. You know, that's too close to home. That's too close to home. It's harder to say, well, that might not happen when like it's your friend. You know, multiple friends. But like my scientific curiosity about the whole process, my fascination with the process is definitely keeping me going, as well as I just have the best partner in the world. My husband-to-be is just the calmest, gentlest, most supportive, loving person. And, you know, just yesterday, I was, you know, talking to the hospital about, you know, whether or not to go private to get this lump sorted out. And my partner was asking a question that I just couldn't answer. So I just passed him the phone because I started crying. And you know, the nurse was on the phone, are you cool with that? And I'm like, yes, please talk to him. Please have him handle it. And he did. And he has never made me feel less than. He has never made me feel like I'm a burden in this, and he is with me every step of the way. And you know, there was a time when I did feel a bit lonely when we didn't get pregnant. You know, it seemed he was just too like, oh well, we'll try again next month. And I was like, I'm sad when it doesn't work. And once he heard that and he listened to me, and now, you know, he sits in that sadness with me, and he's like, yeah, I do feel sad. He didn't want to drag me down with his sadness, but it's like, you're not dragging me down. We're in this together. We're feeling this sadness together because we both want this. And so I'm very, very lucky. And I also have an amazing mum and just a really amazing friends. And, you know, even more so my friends who don't even want kids, you know, when people don't want kids, sometimes they like will just shut off about fertility problems, about trying to have kids, about pregnancy and stuff. They just like won't engage with that at all. And I'm lucky that my friends don't do that. My friends are 100% along with me for the ride, and they will feel that sadness with me. They will feel that loss with me, and they are supportive of me in that time. So that is, you know, I'm very lucky. Plus I have two wonderful, not blood related, but, you know, aunts, you know, my mum's friends who have been through IVF. My neighbor, I just found out, who also went through IVF. So I have like people to reach out to who have been through it, because like even my mum, you know, my mum's like, I didn't have fertility problems. Like this wasn't an issue for me. So we're like, I can support you, but I can't relate. And if you want to talk to someone who relates, who gets it, you can talk to other people. And, you know, I'm so lucky. And it is hard. It's definitely not easy. It's going to get harder, especially once I start taking those hormones, and, you know, you can get weepy, you can get angry, you can get, you know, all sorts of things happening, and you can't necessarily control your emotions in the same way, because it's like driven by hormones that aren't naturally producing. You know, pregnancy is an unnatural